Many thanks for joining us here on News Desk, and we can start off with the very first story. And some power consumers in the country are accusing the Electricity Company of Ghana of charging tariffs higher than that approved by the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission. Now, the PURC in December last year announced a 59.2% electricity tariffs, with that of water also going up by some 67.2%. Now, a month after the announcement, however, consumers say power distributor, the Electricity Company of Ghana, is charging more than what it's supposed to.
50 cedis. I was expecting to last for about a month, but I realized after 3 days it was off. So I went in for another, I think 20 cedis. And with the 20 cedis, I was just imagining that 50 plus 20, how much would it be? So it should last for like 2 months. But there was so much issue, so we were thinking there was a problem with the meter. But we really complained about this meter, and yet so nothing is happening. It's serious. I'm buying prepaid myself. I buy prepaid myself. I go in for prepaid credits, yes, all the time. So nobody buys it for me. I buy it for myself. So if I'm finding this kind of issues and I have other utility bills to pay, then I think prepaid shouldn't take, yeah, expenses.
Like initially, I used to buy 70 Ghana cedis, and that could last me for a month. And now it's only lasting for 2 weeks. And every now and then, I just checked my meter this morning. Like it's running short. I don't know what's wrong with the system. They would have to check it again, please.
My auntie just bought some like 3 days ago. That is 50 cedi, and we put it in, and the following day it went off. And then we went to buy another 50 cedi. 2 days time it went off. So we went back to their office, and they are telling us they don't have anything to say about it and blah 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 and stuff. So I think the government should do something about it and tell us what's wrong with their machines and all that stuff, so that we can know what they are about to.
It doesn't last long, does it? Sometimes we buy like 100 cedis a week.
I don't think it's okay at all. It's very bad. Just 3 days and then 20 cedis gone, just like that. And we've been using only, let me see, the radio and then the lights. That's why we don't even use our fridge anymore. Yeah, it's very bad. It's very bad.
Light bill is too much. Me myself, last 2 months I pay 40 Ghana cedis. By last month and this month I pay 100 Ghana cedis. That one is too much increase.
Actually, people are suffering. Seriously, people are suffering. You buy a unit, within that very day it goes. So you have to. I suffered it on Saturday. I bought units. Within some 1 hour, it went. I went back. It went. I went back. Yesterday I had to buy some.
While information available to join you suggests that indeed consumers are having to pay more than the 59% for electricity, with reports suggesting that, well, indeed, some consumers are having to pay between 69% and 73%, depending on your consumption rate. We'll be bringing a lot more on this particularly, and when we get into that particular conversation with the Electricity Company of Ghana, because we are told this particular situation following the PURC mandating the ECG to charge an additional 10%. Now, my colleague Hanodame has been going through that particular letter that was sent to the ECG that gave them the authority to charge this additional 10%. And she joins me now in studio with details of this particular document. Hannah, good morning. Thanks for joining us. So what really does this document talk about?
Now, you know, all this is under the Energy Sector Levy Act.
Okay.
What happens is that with the introduction of the new levies, you and I will have to pay 10% extra of what you were paying at first. And as you just read, there's a particular amount that should have been paid, but unfortunately it went higher. If you were paying, say, 20 cedis for power, now you'll have to pay 35 cedis. That's an increment of 15 cedis. So if you had to use the 20 cedis for a week, for now it will last for about 3 days. And this 10% extra that you are paying for, it's divided into two. 5% goes to the public lighting levy. That's what we call the street lights. Okay. Do you have a street light in your area?
Sure.
Well, but you're paying 5% out of what you pay for now, for your power now. Also, you pay 5% for the National Electrification Levy. That's extending power to the rural areas. This project started in 1990 and is expected that by the year 2020, every rural community will have power. And so you and I will have to pay for that. You're paying 5% of whatever you're paying on power now. After all this has been collated, the monies have been put into a pool, 40% of the amount collected will be paid into power generation, so that at least in the next 5 or 10 years we'll not have issues with power generation, because obviously the population will increase. 60% of that money will also be paid to ECG and NEDCO to cover energy consumption. And we all know that ECG obviously will have a lot of energy consumption to do. Then when we go to the other 5% that you are paying for the National Electrification Levy, after all the monies have been collected for the month, 60% of that money will be paid into the power generation. So a lot of it goes into power generation. And you know why? As population increases, of course, you need a lot of power generation. 60% will go into power generation. And then infrastructure sub-account. 40% of that pool, the money that you've collected, will also be paid into the National Electrification Fund. And this is where they eventually go for the money and extend power to other parts of the countries. And we are hoping that by the year 2020, a lot of rural areas, communities will have power. Unfortunately, this is where the problem comes, because I'm expected to pay 10% more. And so probably I do my calculation, and per my consumption, I'm supposed to pay maybe just about 2 cedis more. But then I realize I'm paying 15 cedis more. That's how come everybody is complaining. And we have to get more answers from the
and indeed, company. So I'm trying to get a hold of this. So
yeah.
The 59.2%.
It still stands according to PRC. And then
there's an additional 10%, which makes
exactly.
it 69.2%.
Exactly.
That's almost 70%.
Yes, and you and I will have to pay for it, because you consume power. As long as you do consume the power, you definitely buy with your prepaid, or you have to pay when your bills come. So you can't skip that one. You eventually pay for it.
This particular statement you have, does it in any way speak of reasons why we weren't made aware of this whole thing in the first place? Because there was an announcement sometime in November, took effect in December, and now we are told that this additional 10% came on board in January this year.
Unfortunately, this letter to the electricity company does not explain it.
Okay.
And it's strange to even see that this is what we call the first schedule of the act. So expect another one, a second schedule probably. We don't have explanations as to why. We need the PURC and then ECG to come and explain to us. That's how come ASEP have already started complaining. They said, why doesn't government adopt other measures? For instance, competitive bidding. When you do that, you get more investors to come in. You attract those who actually invest in the power. They're also saying that they should issue energy bonds for generation infrastructure. ASEP says that government, there are other alternatives. Don't put all the burden on the consumers. Probably when you consider all these other alternatives, you reduce the burden and then everybody will enjoy power, but then you pay realistic tariffs, because we are paying so much more now.
I see. Many thanks for that particular update. I know that me and myself, I'm a bit confused here. And I'm sure a lot of you out there also seem to have a lot of questions. And we're able to actually speak to the Electricity Company of Ghana on this particular issue, plus a number of other issues, because there have been concerns about some customers or consumers who claim that, well, their credits or units, should I say, mysteriously disappear sometimes. So you can buy 100 cedis and within 3 days or within 2 days, or sometimes even within a day, it just disappears, and then you would have to try and find answers to that. We'll be speaking to the Electricity Company of Ghana as and when we do have them, because we're about to speak to them earlier this morning, but the phone line giving us a bit of problem there. We'll try as much as possible. Once we have them on the phone lines, we'll get them to answer to all these questions and a lot more that you have on your minds. But away from that, and talks between government and organized labor over recent utility tariff hikes and a new tax resumed at the Flagstaff House on Thursday, a day after nationwide protests against them. Now, the unions, which took part in the meeting, say government has tabled new proposals for their consideration. Now, the unions in the last few weeks have been demanding that government reduce utility tariffs and completely scrap the energy sector levy. Thousands of Ghanaian workers, mostly members of organized labor, hit the streets on Wednesday to protest the tariff hikes and the new tax, which has caused a 28% increase in the prices of petroleum products. General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Solomon Kote, who was part of the 2-hour meeting at the Flagstaff House, says it was positive.
Indeed, it is refreshing. It's signals of good things to happen. It's signals
of good things to happen from the meeting?
From the meeting. Because if you had a position where it was very difficult for government to do what they are doing now, the backing down, and for Labour also to show commitment, obviously we also have to do some shiftings in order to bring us to a conclusion. I would say there have been a fundamental shift of both positions, and we've made such a tremendous and monumental progress. We believe reconverging again on Tuesday, that is coming Tuesday, we should be able possibly maybe be drawing conclusions on these particular negotiations. Some considerations ought to be made by both sides as we are going to concourse. They are going to consult. We are equally also going to look the considerations with our larger body. But from where we are as Labour and with the experience we have, we believe we are getting closer to the issues on hand than before.
Okay. If we say we are getting closer to the issue at hand before, generally from the start of this process, how has it fared for you, looking at today's crucial meeting with government?
Well, the admission from government side that they are not oblivious of the cry of the Ghanaian populace and the stance of Labour, and for them also to have exhibited that this is a social democrat government who is willing to, picked up with compassion with the cries and suffering of the masses of this country. Obviously, that is an eye-opener, together with the detailed explanation supported with figures as to what is happening to the economy right now, especially with the issue of the doomsday. If we really don't want to see it resonating again, okay, that actually pushed Labour also to have a second look on our stance that actually we took.
I'm sure at this point you would confidently say that at least the demonstration yesterday was what propelled government to shift its stance now.
Indeed, greatly it has paid off, because if these stance were expressed in our earlier meetings, I don't think the demonstration will have come on at all.
So we are hoping that by Tuesday we should be making some headway with regards to this negotiations.
Well, we are very hopeful, but whether or not government is also coming with a posture that will shift a little bit from where they are today.
Okay, so you are hoping that by Tuesday government will make another move again?
Sure.
Oh, I see.
Then obviously we will also make some shift, because where we are and where they are, there should be some additional shifts.
Compromise.
Yes, some additional shift to, at least at the end of the day, the fear is about this doomsday situation, because everything is zero on that if they don't get the required revenue, okay, to sustain the doomsday element, then it's like we'll be going back to square one. And the fear of losing job, the fear of our theater lives going off, the fear of banks not having even confidence in the system, and so on and so forth. So Labour now is also going to look at these particular moral elements and structural elements of the economy and be able to take a decision that will keep Ghana going.
Meanwhile, Employment and Labour Relations Minister Haruna Idrisu is hopeful that Tuesday's meeting will finally put matters to rest.
We come to an end to today's proceedings on the negotiations between the government team and that of organized labor and the AGI and other interested parties. And I'm happy to convey to you that there is some progress, and we are hopeful that in the early part of next week we should be able to build consensus with organized labor on the resolution of this matter. But the government team have made a commitment in principle to organized labor, consistent with the NDC social democratic philosophy, to provide some further release to the vulnerable under the lifeline band protection in respect of water and electricity. And we will share some more detail if organized labor is also able to adjust their position from the previous request for 50%, at which negotiations have remained since then. So we thank you for coming, and call it the meeting is accordingly adjourned. Maybe our last Secretary General to respond to my comment. We'll meet again on Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Now, the Teachers and Educational Workers Union has defied a directive by the National Labour Commission to call off its ongoing strike. Chairman of the union, Peter Lumo, says the strike declared by the union is still in force, despite the Labour Commission's declaration that it is illegal. TEU declared a strike on Monday over the failure of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to address their concerns over the implementation of the single spine pay policy. According to the union, the Commission failed to deliver on its promise of taking steps to bridge the excessive gap between salaries of senior and junior staff of public universities. A press statement released by the acting Executive Secretary of the Labour Commission, Dr. Bernice Welbeck, says failure by TEU to follow laid-down procedures makes the strike illegal. She warned employers may be forced to apply the necessary sanctions if the strike is not called off. However, Peter Lumo says members are meeting today to decide on the directive. We'll bring you a lot more on that particular meeting, which we are told is scheduled for some time later in the day. We'll be keeping our eyes on that. And like I said, we'll bring you a lot more as and when we do have that particular information. Time now for our first break here on News Desk. We'll return shortly with some more news. Don't go away.